The bells ringing out in St. Peter's Square today, marking the death of Pope Francis. The popular Roman Catholic pontiff has died at 88 years old. And this morning, we are remembering the Pope who made history as the Catholic Church's first Latin American pontiff. Despite his recent health battles, news of his death came as a bit of a shock because of his appearances, a number of appearances over Easter weekend. This is a live look from St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City right now, where you can see crowds have gathered there to mourn. NBC's Claudio Lavanga is there with the details.
The announcement of Pope Francis's death early this morning came as a shock to Catholics around here, but also around the world. Tens of thousands of people were just here in St. Peter's Square only 24 hours ago following the Easter celebrations, and Pope Francis surprised everyone by appearing on that central balcony, St. Peter's Basilica, unannounced, to impart the blessing, to wish everyone happy Easter. He, of course, looked frail, as is done for the past few months, especially also after he left a hospital more than a month ago. But there were some signs that his health was recovering. He was not wearing those oxygen tubes in his nose anymore. He got on that Pope mobile to tour St. Peter's Square among the ecstatic crowd of pilgrims around here, and those were taken as signs that his health were improving. And only a few hours later, the Vatican announced that the Pope was dead. Now, what's going to happen next is, in 2 days, the Pope will lie in state in St. Peter's Basilica, allowing the Catholics and pilgrims and everyone else who appreciated and loved the Pope to pay their last respects. Then in 4 to 6 days, we do expect a funeral for Pope Francis to take place here in St. Peter's Square. And then in 15 to 20 days from now, the conclave will take place. Of course, that is the process through which cardinals will have to elect a new Pope. Shortly after that, on the same day, whenever we'll see white smoke coming out of the Sistine Chapel, the new Pope will appear on the same balcony right there in St. Peter's Basilica, where just 24 hours ago Pope Francis wished everyone happy Easter to announce who the next Pope is going to be. But we're not going to know that before 20 days from now, even longer perhaps. This is Claudio Lavanga for NBC News in the Vatican.
Among the nearly 1.4 billion Catholics grieving the Pope's death are parishioners here in Boston, of course, who convene for Easter Monday Mass. NBC 10's Lauren Melendez joins us live from the Cathedral of the Holy Cross this morning. Lauren, when you spoke with people after service this morning, what did they say? What were they talking about?
I mean, it's a bittersweet day. Of course, there's sad melody because this officially does begin those 9 days of mourning. And yes, while sad, it still allows these parishioners to celebrate the Pope's life. But what they said specifically was this was a celebration that they were not prepared to celebrate so early.
May Almighty God have mercy upon us.
Catholics in Boston believe they had more time with the Holy Father.
It was jarring. I mean, we saw him yesterday for the Easter Mass.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona Pasqua.
But Vatican analysts knew the Pope, known affectionately as quite the maverick, didn't adhere to doctors' orders to rest for at least 2 months after being discharged from the hospital.
One day he was meeting with King Charles and Queen Camilla. The next day he was in St. Peter's Basilica passing out candy to small children. This was a Pope who was determined to just be on the go, to be close to people.
But parishioners like Suzanne don't believe the late pontiff had any regrets in his last days.
I think that God had a hand in it and that he's with God.
And despite his brief defeat of bronchitis and pneumonia and being confined to a wheelchair for 3.5 weeks after leaving the hospital, Catholics see him as a resilient faith leader.
Trying to globally push the world to think about people less fortunate who don't have the support that we all sometimes take for granted.
Also a Pope who veered from tradition, becoming only the third to visit the White House, the first to urge lawmakers to tackle climate change, and issuing the most extensive revision to the church's laws amid the sexual abuse scandal.
There's mixed views on that right now, but he was very open and he was very thoughtful and certainly allowed many folks to come and be heard.
So what happens next? We're going to repeat this quite a bit throughout the day, but as you just heard from Claudio Lavanga, NBC News correspondent, the next steps will be a conclave. That'll be the College of Cardinals who convene at the Vatican to essentially have a secret ballot, and they will essentially elect a new pope. In the meantime, again, the millions or billions, I should say, of Catholics worldwide will remain in mourning as they await a new papal leader. Reporting live here outside of the Cathedral of the Holy Cross this morning, I'm Lauren Melendez, NBC 10 Boston.
Lauren, thank you. So let's talk about that, what Lauren just touched on a moment ago, the conclave, because that is what comes next, right? After the Pope's funeral, the College of Cardinals, as they're called, it's essentially the church's most senior members from around the globe, will convene there in Vatican City, and they will begin what is called a conclave. It is a secretive process. It includes former bishop, Boston Archbishop, I should say, Cardinal Sean O'Malley. He will be among the cardinals there. This is video from the conclave in 2013 that was held inside the Sistine Chapel at the Vatican. So they hold a series of votes to elect a successor there, secret ballots. And how do we, the world, find out when a new pope is chosen? Well, it has to do with the smoke that billows from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. If they vote and no successor is chosen, that smoke billows out will be black. When the smoke turns white, it signifies a new pope has been chosen. Now, we will have much more on the life and legacy of Pope Francis here on air and, of course, online. If you head to NBCBoston.com, you can learn more about the process of picking a new pope and the steps that are already in motion. All right, let's switch gears to First Alert weather right now. It is 11:06 on what is an absolutely gorgeous Monday. You can see the Sitco sign on the right and Fenway Park at the left. We've got some action happening at Fenway and, of course, all through the city because it's Marathon Monday. Nice and cool out there. Hopefully it'll stay comfortable for those marathoners that are already out on the race route. So we'll get to the marathon in just a moment. First, let's get to the forecast from meteorologist Sydney Welch. Sid, I can hardly imagine a better forecast for these runners. Not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah, it's that nice sweet spot, that Goldilocks forecast where you have temperatures at 50 degrees, not too hot, not too cold. That's what we're going to see these next few days. The next few days will be a bit warmer, but we don't have a marathon going on the next few days. So getting to the 60s is going to be not out of the question for much of this week. We're mainly dry out there. That's another big thing. Not expecting much as far as rain goes. A few passing fair weather clouds going through our day. Once we get into the evening and overnight tonight, that's when our next rain chances are going to come into the picture. Not going to impact the marathon, though. Temperatures make their way to the middle and upper 50s between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Now we're in the low 50s, 50 degrees for Boston out there right now, 53 as we go through our next few hours. And areas inland could potentially be pushing 70 degrees in spots like Fitchburg, at least the upper 60s. But right along the coast, likely making it to those upper 50s. We're going to be warming up from here, though, especially into the day tomorrow. I'll time out rain chances and warmer temperatures coming up.
All right, it is a day unlike any other here in Massachusetts, as Sid was just talking about. It is Marathon Monday, Patriots Day, whatever you like to call it. Today is the day of the 129th Boston Marathon. Now, some of the athletes have already completed the course, believe it or not. This is Marcel Hoog winning the men's wheelchair division. This is his eighth time winning the Boston Marathon, the third time straight. He is unbeatable. On the women's side, American Susanna Scaroni won the women's wheelchair race for the second time. She finished 6 minutes faster than her first win back in 2023, setting records as she's doing it. Look, more than 30,000 runners and cyclists are currently making their way from Hopkinton, where the starting line is, to the finish line in the Back Bay, and we've got you covered today. We have team coverage for you right now. Before we get to NBC 10's Jericho Tran, who's down with all the fun at the finish line, we want to begin with Minash Kungwari before they get that celebration. He's live in Hopkinton with the details on plans to keep everyone along that race route safe. Minash, good morning.
And we're highlighting their comprehensive safety plan that federal, state, and local officials really teamed up to create to make sure everything goes smoothly, and it starts before you even enter the perimeter.
No bags are allowed inside.
bag-checking stations,
2 lines, please, 2 lines,
security checkpoints, the debut of a new vehicle barrier, and a visible police presence all along the 26.2-mile course.
Today we have a multi-layered security plan.
With tens of thousands of people expected to watch the 129th Boston Marathon, Colonel Jeffrey Noble with Mass State Police telling us the effort federal, state, and local organizations are going through to keep everyone safe.
Police officers, troopers, EMS, first responders,
and undercover officers.
They are there to serve.
And when talking security at the Boston Marathon, the tragedy 12 years ago comes to mind for some. But FBI Boston's Assistant Special Agent in charge, Alan Davis, says they are on high alert.
I'm happy to say that we are aware of no significant credible threats to this event. We are counting on you, the public, to be vigilant.
Meaning, if you see something, say something. All right, well, the last wave of people are expected to leave right here at 11:15, and of course they're going to be making their way all the way down to Boston's Copley Square, where the finish line is. That's where NBC 10's Jericho Tran is, and she's going to be getting all the sights and feels when they're crossing that finish line. But for right now, we're live here in Hopkinton. Minaj Kungwari, NBC 10 Boston.
Took the words right out of my mouth, my man. Thank you, Minaj. So, Minaj, of course, at the starting line, here's a map of what we're showing you. There's the race route, all spread out. He was in Hopkinton. Now look to the right side of your screen. 26.2 grueling miles later, about 30,000 racers are going to end their journey with that, of course, iconic left turn onto Boylston Street. So for that, let's go to NBC 10's Jericho Tran live for us at the finish line right now. Jericho, I've been watching you dancing around and singing during commercial breaks and before the show started, so I hardly need to ask, but I think I know the answer. What's the energy like down there?
Listen, the finish line, there's no better place to be than the finish line, right? Because it's that sigh of relief. They finally finished. You got the cowbells going every now and again. We just have participants from the men's and women's wheelchair division that have made it through. But once they make it through, it is a celebration. We also need to get to one of my favorite parts of the marathon, the participants. Everyone has a reason and a story for running. And one of my favorites has to be, Lisa, your husband, Sergio. How many marathons has Sergio run?
Sergio's run over 100 marathons.
And what is his inspiration for running?
He started running, he was 18. He grew up in Los Angeles, and it was kind of a way for him to stay out of trouble, and great exercise, and he's carried on, and he hopes to be here when he's 80.
Okay, how many years have you and Sergio been married?
We've been married 34 this year. We will have been together for 40.
And you have been at the finish line for him every time?
Yes.
Folks, if that isn't love, I mean, that is what I want. At the finish line every single time. Who thought we could find love here at the finish line? Celebration and love. That is amazing. We're waiting for some of the other participants to make it through. I checked last. The runners from the men's and women's division were about like mile 20, so we should expect to see them pretty soon from the professional men's and women's division. So I will be waiting for them here at the finish line, but I will send it back to you guys.
Jericho, thank you so much. Only you, my friend, could track down the love story at the finish line of the marathon. We appreciate it. Look, we want to mention that we have two of our own NBC 10 family members running the course today. On the left is Matt Pritchard, and on the right is Malcolm Johnson, both running Boston for the very first time. They both trained really hard. They are ready to go. We can't wait to see them cross that finish line. Best of luck to both of them.